welcome to this lecture on Adobe Illustrator by Eduonix Technologies. In this lecture, we're going to be expanding on the previous two tutorials and talking about advanced type and paragraph formatting options, as well as towards the end of the video we're going to go into some tips and some real-world practical applications and techniques for using type and the paragraph tools in Illustrator. So first we're going to start off with tabs. And you can access tabs by hitting Shift-Control-T. And this is going to bring up the tabs window. As you can see, you can also get to it by going up to Window, down to Type, and over to Tabs. In the Tabs panel, there's a few options we're going to be focusing on mostly, and that's A, B, which is tab alignment buttons, tab position, as well as G, snap panel above frame, and F, the tab ruler itself. And the way you use the tabs panel is you select a paragraph or a type object. And first off, if you want to align it to the tabs panel, you hit the little magnet button. This 0 right here corresponds to the beginning of your text object, as opposed to the 0 on the ruler up here. So when you hit the magnet, it puts it right above there so you can see it nice and easy. Now with everything selected, let's put down a left justified tab. The default tab, and right here in X, we can set the tab position precisely, since just clicking on these doesn't always get it right where we want it. And by default it's set to 0.5, so every time you would press tab, it would make it 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Now wherever you put the cursor, or wherever you put the stop is what it's called, it will negate everything before that. So as you can see, it sends it right to 1.5. After that, it goes back to default. So another thing you can do to make it easier to set these stops is to have snap to unit selected. If you notice, it snaps it to the unit on the ruler. Now when you have one selected like that, the way to get rid of one is to drag it off the screen. Or if you have a bunch of them, like we could create by going to Repeat tab, then the easiest way to do that is to just go clear all tabs. And alternately, if you just want to clear one, you just go to Delete tab. Now to place a new kind of stop, you would simply put one that you already had selected, and then since it's still selected, you can change it to whatever you want. Since we want our type to be left justified, we're going to go with the left justified tab. So I'm going to drag these both off right now. So what are all these other buttons for? Currently we've only used left justified tab. I'm going to put in a right justified tab. We're going to work on this paragraph right here. We're going to make a list. This is going to be 3 apples, 49 cents a piece, $1.47, for the total. So there's going to be 4 columns essentially. This is how we do that. We would set a right or left, and I'll show you what they do later. Justified tab, let's say, because 3, 1, 3, and 2 is already going to be all the way on the left by default. So let's set a right justified tab right here, 1.5, and actually you have to make sure you have the whole thing selected. It's 1.5 right justified tab. Currently we're justified to the left, but you'll see. Now we want to line all these things up with decimal. So we're going to create 2 decimal justified tabs. Put them here. We can move these later too, easily. Here. We're going to put a line on, we're going to type a period for each of these decimal justified tabs. Now, all we have to do is click tab for each of these. And it will automatically put them where we want them. You notice milk cartons isn't moving until the other stuff gets out of the way. It's because they have it on right justification. And watch what happens if we select this. Select this and change it to left. Wherever this stop is, it's going to justify it to the right, to the left, or to the center. So this is really handy in making long lists. So I'm going to do to the center for right now. And remember, you can always move these. So the last option to look at is leader. So let's change all these really quick. Hit Control A to select everything. Now you can actually right click on these to select individual ones without changing them, creating any weirdness. Now watch what happens if I put period in for leader with this one selected. I right clicked on it. Now I right click on this one. Put a period in for leader. I can align it to the $sign. And I right click right here. I can align it to the period. I can align it to 0. It's going to be kind of random. There's more than one and there's one that doesn't have one. I'm just going to go ahead and align it to the $sign. And for this one I'm going to put a period and a space for the leader. So as you can see, you can do just about anything with this. And that pretty much does it for the tabs panel. Really handy tool. Although it's not ideal for creating indents. Up here in your paragraph panel, you would have the indent tool. This is what you would use to create an indent. Although you can use this to set default tabbing for a large design. This would be the ideal tool for that. Tabs tool is more like for keeping things in line with the text object. So now let's take a look at the OpenType panel. Remember, as I mentioned before, OpenType is used to create, or is a type that has lots of glyphs in it and is very extended as far as the amount of characters it has. Now to select, we first have to select an OpenType font. To do that, go up to your font menu, under Type, Font. You see these little symbols to the left. The little green and black O means it's an open type font, and the two T's means it's a true type. So let's select any open type font. I'm going to make the font nice and big. I'm going to hit Shift and up to make it go up by 10. To make it a little bit faster. So I'll start with a symbol here. And I'm actually going to change my font. Something to keep in mind that fonts that have the word pro after them contain a lot more glyphs. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to find Myriad Pro. You can see I have a lot of fonts. We'll just go with regular. Now, to use OpenType, we select the glyphs panel. Probably going to want to resize it. As you can see, the character I typed out is selected in the glyphs panel. There we go. To add a glyph, we put our cursor right here. So as you can see, I have created a bunch of numbers, and you can kind of tell it's half, third, 4x, 6x, 8n. I'm going to show you how to use the position in OpenType. First, let's insert some more glyphs. Just kind of look through them too. See all the different kinds there are. Change, of course, the appearance of them right there. So as you can see, OpenType is good for different languages and different symbols that you might need to use for math or for other things, formulas, pound signs, different currencies, and that kind of thing. So you can insert pretty much anything you want. Just double click on it and it'll go where the cursor is. Let's take a look at position. I want this to be a half. First, do these buttons down here. So I just click fractions. If I want this to be third and ordinal, just click ordinal. Now if you notice, by highlighting this and selecting ordinal, it doesn't work, but if we were to go to mini and pro, it does. So some fonts are going to have some things that work and some aren't. So there's two more I'm going to go into real quick. Ligature. And stylistic alternates. Now I'm just going to show you a few more things. It's easier just to show you. There's not a whole lot of fonts with all of these things, stylistic alternates, swashes, standard ligatures, but I found a few. They're usually the ones that are pro or they're expensive, you have to go out and buy them. may have a few of your own. It's just good to cycle through and check them. The first is an example of figure and what figure does. As we change figure, you'll notice the placement and proportion of numbers changes. Experiment with that. I don't use it that often. I don't use much of this that often, aside from some of the ligatures and alternates. And then we have Adobe Garamond Pro, stylistic alternate, which is pretty dramatic, as you can see. It also displays some tilting, or tittling alternates. That's about it. As you can see, there's a pretty big difference. Then we go on to swashes. These are particularly hard to find. They apply mainly to capitals, but they can be anything. If I deactivate the swashes on this one, let's see, it's usually R's and things like that that go below the baseline. In fact, I believe in this font it is mostly the R's. That's Gabriel. We have standard ligatures. Ligatures are certain groups of letters are put together. Like you see the two T's in settling, how they're grouped together. It's still two characters, but it makes it look like it's just one. It's contextual based, so you'd have to have two T's. It won't just do it to three T's, only if there's two T's together. Certain other things like F, I, as you see in the icon. So discretionary ligatures, it's very hard to find fonts that do this. Mayrio UI regular does it. If you look at the M, the double M in summer, it groups them together. If you want to use these, I encourage you to get a lot of Pro fonts. This is probably my favorite one. It's contextual alternates. Look at the X in contextual. And the lowercase h's. Lowercase h's in certain. See, with share, lowercase h swoops like that. With match, it goes down like that. And if I just put an H at the beginning of something, so you have three different H's right there, among other things. So that does it for the advanced type paragraph tutorial. Thanks for watching. We'll have more tips on type paragraphs as we go on, like I said. Thanks.